Being recorded, are we online?
Yes.
Right.
No,
Just nearly there. It's nearly doing it.
Just excuse me while I finish the.
Oh, it's the tea.
Being recorded, are we online?
Yes. Okay, we're live now, so you can all go ahead.
brilliant. Okay, so welcome everyone to today's Personnel Committee. Before we get started, I don't think there are any apologies. I haven't received any, and it looks like we're all here, so that's brilliant. Are there, point number 2, any other declarations of interest to declare? No? Excellent. Okay, well, if any come up as we're going along, then obviously you can declare them then, so that's fine. So we've got one set of minutes to agree today, if everyone's happy. Has everyone, did everyone receive the papers? Sorry, there were quite a few for today's meeting. So has anyone got any comments on the minutes they received on the 24th of November 2020? No?
Oh, hold on. I'm looking at the wrong one.
Have I said the right one? Yeah, 24th of November. Yeah. Okay, so there's no comments. Anyone like to propose those minutes? Oh, Councillor Tugg is gone. Yes, Linda,
I'm
thank
still here. I've just turned my video off.
Okay, Councillor Walters, that's a proposal from Councillor Walters and a second from Councillor Power. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so could we have a vote in favour of passing the minutes?
In favour.
Okay, so the full set, that's Councillor Ralph, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, Councillor Vagg, Councillor Power, Councillor Walters and verbally Councillor Tudgay.
Councillor Ralph, I'm not voting because I wasn't present at that meeting, so I'm going to abstain if I may. And
yeah, that's
thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Seeing what I want to see.
Yes.
Can I record your abstention in the minutes? Councillor
I'm not. No, I'm. Yes, if you're required to, but I've only done it because I wasn't at the meeting, so I can't verify something as being correct if I didn't attend. So
Okay.
thank you.
No, that's fine. Are you happy with that, Clark?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Right. So we'll get down to business because we've got to be prompt today. So our first job under the town clerk recruitment is to consider approving the town clerk's job description, which is the NALC. We've taken it from the NALC model for now and the personal specification. So hopefully you've all had a chance to read this. Are there any, we could go through it point by point, or maybe it's better to start by saying, are there any questions in general? Yes, Councillor Bagg.
Just one question. We refer to it being a temporary appointment, but don't say how long for.
Well, when we get to 4B in the agenda, we are going to cover that and talk about, you know, feel about temp. Is that okay? But we'll do the job spec.
Yeah, sure.
But that does have a relationship, of course, to the fact that it's temporary, because if it's a temporary role, that's why we've taken the NALC guidelines, if you like, because we obviously want to complete the staffing review, and then that will inform what the actual long-term permanent job description says. Does that make sense? I mean, is there a burning desire from the room to go through it point by point?
No.
No, I mean, I don't. Okay, I mean, are there any more questions? I mean, it is the NALC guidelines, so it is, you know, thorough in that sense and covers everything we might want the town clerk to do at this stage. Yeah. Okay, well, we need to approve this by vote, don't we, Clark?
Yes, you do, please.
Okay, so is there a proposer for this? Thank you, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow, and a seconder, Councillor Power. Right, so if we go for a vote, those councillors in favour of passing the job description. Okay, so that's Councillor Ralph, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow, Councillor Vagg, Councillor Power, Councillor Walters and Councillor Tudgate all in favour. So that's a full set of those in attendance, so we don't need to do any other votes. You happy with that?
Yep, got that.
Okay, right, so that is the job description and the personal spec approved. So the next thing is for us to consider advertising the town clerk role on a 6-month renewable temporary basis for 30 hours per week on spinal column point 37. So hopefully you all received it's quite copious, some of the guidance from NALC. Oh, sorry, Councillor Tudgate. Yeah.
Should that not read a minimum of 30 hours?
Yeah, it could do. Is there any reason we wouldn't do that, councillors? No,
I'm just concerned that, you know, if the workload was such that we wanted someone to do a few more hours, and if they were willing to do so, we don't want to be hand-tied by the fact that we've, you know, advertised for this 30 hours.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Clark?
Well, you could say for at least 30 hours with a view to some additional hours should the workload call for it. But I think really the idea is to get the person in post and to get the review of all the jobs done
Yes.
ASAP, so that person will have to be focusing on that. So although we put 6 months renewable temporary basis in the agenda, I would be hoping that you get somebody, you know, get your review done before that 6 months is up. So hopefully you shouldn't need to go longer than the 6 months. But you're right, it's probably an idea to word it in such a way that that person could expect to do some additional hours if required.
Councillor Shelbourne Barrow,
I think we should state a maximum, because I don't want to breach. I know the EU working time directors may not be live anymore, but I wouldn't want them to go over 37 full-time hours for this role, and only with agreement of either the chair of personnel, chair of council, or the deputy chair.
Okay, I agree with that sentiment. Is that something we draw out in the contract though, do you think?
It is in the
Possibly.
contract, but
Yeah.
all I'm saying is I would very much like that to be our focus, so that we, you know, we're not expecting, they're not going to come in and find themselves doing 60 hours a week, for example. We do need to give them assurance we won't be asking for more.
Yeah, I agree. Councillor Vagg?
I'm not sure that 30 hours isn't overstating it anyway, because at the moment they only do 9 till 1 and 2 till 4. So 6 hours a day is for 4 days. 4 6s is 24, and 3 hours on a Friday. And then you've just got, that's 27. Yeah, you've got to allow for the minutes. Yeah, sorry, I've forgotten about the meetings.
Do you want to answer that question, Locum?
Yeah, I was just going to say that's when the office is open, and that's the hours that Muriel does. But the clerk role currently is supposed to be 37 hours a week. It's a full-time role. So I think, I mean, I've been doing 2 days a week, and there's literally not a hope of doing all the work in 2 days a week. So I think 30 is quite a good compromise, and hopefully it will focus that person into working hard to get the staffing review done, so that the workload is shared appropriately across whatever post you end up with.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'd forgotten the minute taking.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments?
Do we need to also offer the ability to work outside of the office with agreement? remote working, or is that?
Well, I mean, I think at the moment with the COVID situation the way it is, most people will probably expect to be working from home. You could have that conversation with the person during the interviews if you wanted to.
Okay, that's fine.
If you wanted to perhaps put it in the advert, you could do that.
Yes.
I think that's something we could draw out in an interview question. And I think at the moment it would almost be, you'd need to imply the opposite, which is we would hope there'll be some working in an office.
Yes.
Because at the moment, certainly there's a lot of jobs coming out which are entirely working now because they've changed around completely. So, okay. Excellent. Okay. So there's sort of two parts to this 4B really, which is everyone being happy with the idea of a temporary role for 30 hours, but it's also that we want to advertise it on spinal column point 37. So I just want to make sure everyone's happy with this, which is the idea of our council being graded as an LC3 and us pitching ourselves at the size of council, which is the start of the substantive, so the middle benchmarking of that, which I think is a competitive salary because I hope we're going to attract lots of really good candidates. So has everyone had a chance to look at that? Yeah, okay.
We could, sorry,
That's
Chair,
fine.
it's within our financial envelope for staffing.
Mhm.
This would easily sit within the budget we've allocated anyway, because where we currently are, even with on costs for a fixed term contract or a rolling, whatever terminology you use, sorry if I've got that wrong. So I think that's a sensible approach.
That's fine. Okay, so if I feel like we're drawing to sort of a conclusion, consensus on this. So are we voting on this? It says to consider locum clerk.
Yeah, I put consider rather than agree because I thought there might be some discussion and you might want to perhaps change the, perhaps the number of hours or the 37. But if somebody wants to propose that you go for 6 months renewable, 30 hours, final column point 37, then you can have a seconder and a vote on that.
Okay, is there a proposer in the room for this? Thank you, Councillor Power, proposing. A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Vag. So a vote in favour of advertising the town clerk role on a 6-month renewable temporary basis for 30 hours per week on spinal column point 37, all in favour. So that's Councillor Ralph, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow, Councillor Vag, Councillor Power, Councillor Walters and Councillor Tudgate.
Can I just suggest that we clarify what the spinal 37 thing is for the public who are watching?
Yes, so that's in our job advert. So the position is graded at lower LC3, which is 0.37, which for the equivalent salary for 30 hours per week would be £33,142.70 per annum. Okay.
I meant what we are discussing is what grade council we are and what I was breaking it down, and that there are grades of pay.
Yeah, there are 4 grades, I believe. Is that right? Yeah, there are 4 grades of council, and you go through a process of calculating where you sit as a certain size council, depending on all your activities and your number.
We're grade 3, aren't we?
Yeah, we're LC3, but then there are lots of parts of each level, so as to where you sit within that.
So going forward then, if I may say, that doesn't mean that we'll appoint when we go to our full-time permanent member of staff at that level, because we will know where we sit within that grading once the organisational review has taken place.
Yeah, this will be all based on our whole staff review that will go on of the whole.
Yes,
absolutely correct. Yes, Councillor Power.
Where would the adverts be promoted? Let's say, would it be
it be on social media, or would it be on like LinkedIn and stuff like that?
Well, Councillor Power, hold that thought, because that's coming up in the agenda.
Oh no, I did read it. I just wanted to make sure.
Well, if you just wait till D, we're going to agree and discuss all the places we can put it. So
Okay.
just put a tiny pin in it, and we'll get there in a second. But
This is,
yeah.
sorry, this isn't connected to the current conversation, but it's associated with it. Are we going to discuss because I can't remember in the agenda, I've moved off the page, if we're going to parallel look for a locum clerk at the same time for the same period, if we can't appoint a fixed contract term, then I would like the ability to make sure that we don't have a gap in our clerk. So I want, where might we be able to discuss that? I know that the
Locum clerk, did you?
Well, the personnel committee has delegated responsibility to employ a locum in the circumstance that you just described. And if you find yourself without a clerk, so that's why that's not on the agenda, because the personnel committee already has the power to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so as and when, if that happened, we'd need to convene a meeting and decide what we wanted to do.
Can we not parallel run? Sorry, I just wondered, could we not do both at the same time?
What do you mean do both?
So go out for a fixed term and go out for a locum, just in case we don't identify a fixed term, we then have a locum for that same period while we're doing the organisational. Sorry, I sorry for causing a confusion or.
No, I think I know what you mean, Councillor Shelburne, and you were talking about like a belt and braces approach to like
yes
period. I think, well, it's not on the agenda today, but
no, so we can't discuss it.
No, we can't discuss it, but we do have the power of personnel committee. So, you know, as we move this forward, I would say in the early stages, if there's any concern about, you know, the number of applicants or things like that, then that's definitely something we have the ability as a subcommittee to meet and move that forward apace.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I apologise for talking about something not on the agenda, but I just wanted to make sure we do recognise it as a personnel committee.
No, that's okay. Don't worry. Okay, so we voted on that, did we? On B?
No.
Brilliant.
You did, yeah.
We didn't. We did.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, right. So 4C. To agree the wording for the job advertisement. So hopefully you've all had the job advert, have you, today?
Yes.
Brilliant. Sorry it was late. That's my fault, not Zoe's. So I was trying to get my bit done. Are we, I mean, it's quite, I think it's quite thorough, is my opinion, but then I have co-authored it. So
Well, it's better to be thorough than not thorough, then we can't get caught out in the future, if you see what I mean.
yes, yeah, definitely. Councillor Shelburne-Barrow, yeah.
I sent through some amendments, Councillor Ralph. I'm not sure if you picked them up yet.
Sorry, no.
Okay, let me just try and remember what I actually sent now. There's the challenge. So the first amendment was where it said by-election to say in a by-election, not by-election. I think that was just. The second one was, I actually think we say that they should hold the qualification. I don't actually think it would be useful for us to offer anyone to get the qualification while they're with us. I'd like them to be fully trained as with clerk qualification, but also experience. I'm having a problem with words now. And the final bit, there was something further on. Oh yes. So where it talks about the applications should be sent to, I also thought we could offer a conversation with people. So anyone interested in the role, it might be helpful to speak to the clerk, the locum clerk, yourself, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgay or myself, to get a sense of the role and the council as a whole and our vision for the council and what we're looking for from the role, to bring that job description and the advert alive a bit more. before they submit. I just wondered if you might like to consider that and to contact the office to book a slot.
Okay.
I think from memory, that's what I sent to you, she says.
No, well done. Thank you. Sorry, I missed it. Okay, so thank you for the correction. Writing is not my strong point. I'm always very open to that. And are there any other thoughts about the section that Councillor Shelburne about holding or be willing to obtain the certificate in local council administration?
I think Zoe put her hand up just a minute ago for that one.
Oh, did you? Sorry.
Yeah, I did, and then I put it down again because I wasn't sure. I don't.
Shall I share my concern about
Yeah,
that?
go on.
Though I completely agree with Councillor Shelbourne's sentiment about being qualified, my fear is if we write it in the job advert that we could put off some awesome candidate that like maybe hasn't quite completed it, or, you know, because we can, you know, there is quite a few processes after the advert. You know, there's the framework sift and then the interview process for us to consider, actually, no, it's really important that this person has this application. Whereas if we say that, then we immediately cut some people out of the game, if that makes sense. I haven't been very eloquent there, sorry. Is there any
Work them up within, basically.
Yeah, sorry, Locum Clark.
I think what you just said has sort of made me able to put into words what I was thinking, which is that you could say something like must have the qualification or significant relevant experience in a similar role.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think from my perspective, if you look at other job descriptions, it would say a qualification in or be able to demonstrate significant experience. And we need to identify that in the application, but also references. So we'd need a reference that demonstrated their level of knowledge and experience, because for our town council, I believe that would be helpful to not only have the qualification, but have experience alongside it, or be able to demonstrate that experience. So I hear where you're coming from, but we've still on a transformational journey. So it's, you know, I just want to make sure we get the right person.
Sorry, I'll just come to you in a second, Councillor Vag, but just to sort of round this off, if that's important to us, we do need to consider that the personal spec says under qualifications and training essential, completion of the certificate of local council administration or willingness to achieve within an agreed time scale. So we have written that under the personal spec. Councillor Vag, then I'll come to you, Councillor Tuggy.
Oh, sorry, are we looking at this from the point of view of us becoming, once again, I think the phrase is quality council?
Yes.
I would like to think so.
So
yes.
therefore, relevant experience, no matter how good it is, without the qualification, wouldn't give us the ability to go for the quality council thing, I believe.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vag. Councillor Tuggy?
Could I ask the clerk, how long a course or how long does it take to achieve this qualification?
Oh, okay. Well, I did mine a long time ago, but I think I think you had to complete it within a year of starting it.
Right.
Yes. I would suggest, well, you're not going to be getting a brand new clerk, but if you're brand new to it, you should definitely be in post for a little while before you start doing it, because otherwise it just doesn't make a huge amount of sense to you. You have to have a certain amount of experience, because it is a vocational qualification. If you haven't got any vocational experience, it doesn't mean very much. But I was also going to say that in the person specification that you just approved, number 2, it does say as essential experience of working in local government administration. So I think that, coupled with what you're going to say about should hold the qualification or significant relevant experience in a similar role, if you're going to say that in the adverts, I think that would cover everything.
Yeah, I agree. Councillor Tuggy?
Yes, I don't think we should make it a condition of employment, because or application rather, because with the big reshuffle that's going on in local government, we may well get an ideal candidate come out of you know, somewhere like SSDC or one of those councils, that would be an ideal candidate. They just don't have the qualification, and they would certainly be able to work towards that in a relatively short space of time, I would have thought. So I think we mustn't cramp our style too much.
Might get Jackie Weaver.
Oh, well,
Yes.
dream. Yeah. Okay. Right. Can you all these amendments we're making to that one sentence, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow, are you following these? Are you happy with them?
I'm following it.
think
I
we-
hear what people are saying. I think that when we go through to look at the applications, we will, as long as the scoring allows us to take that into account.
Yes.
So someone who is qualified and very vastly experienced would score higher than someone who just has experience if we felt that didn't demonstrate equivalence. As long as we're able to do that, I'm happy with that as a process.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And then what was your other bit? If I picked up all three, the conversation. So I don't have a problem with people being able to have a conversation with us. Do you see any issue with that, Locum Clark?
No, I mean, you know, it's probably quite a normal thing to expect to do when you're applying for a job. I suppose the only thing I would really need to know, I'm guessing that we would ask the person to contact me, and then I would arrange an appointment with them or give their number to you, Lizzie, or you.
Yeah.
Sue.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that because I know your time is very precious. So
Thank you.
I can do.
May I speak?
Yes, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow. Yeah.
I would like it if you're still available to talk to in the council to have a conversation. I'm sure they would welcome one from you as our current clerk.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm happy to if that's what you want me to do.
I think that would be a positive because of the work and also the handover process, so they know what our current locum clerk is doing and where they would be coming in and picking up. The role of us as councillors is to talk about our vision of the council. I think from my perspective, it's the other side, not necessarily the day job. I'm going to call it the day job. It's just because that is the day job. But we would be talking about the broader sense of being within council and the councillors on our current council and the by-election coming up and the regen and so forth. Whereas our current locum would talk about all other aspects of the role that we wouldn't necessarily be as cited on. So if our locum clerk is around, I would welcome her having a conversation on the day job, so to speak.
Okay, so I've just written down here that we could put something in the advert like anyone interested in the role may contact the clerk for an informal conversation. And during that conversation, I would obviously answer any questions they had, and then I could offer them if they wanted to speak to a counsellor, but maybe they wouldn't want to. Maybe I would
not
do enough.
Do you think a good idea would be to get like Muriel on board as well? It's like some experience as well, so she can give some advice as well, because obviously to be working with them.
Yeah, I mean, I could speak to Muriel and see if there are some specific things she thinks we ought to share with these people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine. So, are there any more sort of specific amendments or any specific thoughts people have about the advertisement? Okay. Right. So, just to check, the locum clerk and I have got everything. So we've got an amendment in the second paragraph. We've amended the wording around the SILCA qualification, around actually want to see significant relevant experience. And then we've added the section that the locum clerks just talked about we're open to a verbal discussion with candidates or applicants, I should say. And then there's other dates on here that are TBC, but that's in the next section. We'll agree all those in the next section of the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know time is dancing on, so we need to get on with things. So is there if there's nothing else, is someone willing to propose the advert? Thank you, Councillor Power. And second, Councillor Tudgay, thank you. Okay, and a vote in favour of the advert as amended. Okay, so that's Councillor Rolfe, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, Councillor Bagg, Councillor Power, Councillor Walters and Councillor Tudgay. So that's a full set. Thank you, Locum Clerk.
Okay.
Okay, right. So next up, the bit Councillor Power's been waiting for, where to advertise the post, the closing date for applications and date for interviews. So first off, I know I've been advised to ask the Locum Clerk to send this to SALC. They've said they're very open to receiving it and sending it round to all their connections and networks. And then I know the Locum Clerk can send it to SSDC as well, which is suggested to me. Then are there any other thoughts?
LinkedIn.
Councillor Power says LinkedIn.
Also on our Facebook, well, the actual proper Wincanton Town Council Facebook page.
Social media. Do we want...
website, obvious one.
Yeah, thank you. Do we want to consider putting it in print media?
Put it on the notice board.
Or things like that. Is there any appetite for that? Yes, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow.
I think we should get some cost to put it in local publications. But I do think we need to understand how beneficial that will be if we're spending reasonable. Sometimes they're so expensive you don't get the return. However, there are things like Indeed that are free. We already have an account with Indeed and we can load it onto there and it will go live almost instantaneously and someone can monitor it over the periods of time. So I actually think that gets to an awful lot of people who may be looking to come this way or all sorts of, whereas local is local, isn't it? Whereas we might attract others.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Tudgay?
Well, subject to costs, I don't think it would do any harm to put it in the Blackmore Vale. That covers a strange sort of area, almost down to Bournemouth and that neck of the woods, and which would be slightly a different area perhaps.
Yeah.
But obviously, as Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow said, we don't want to spend too much money. But I don't think it would hurt if it was a reasonable cost.
Do we? Sorry, Councillor Bagg. Apologies. Yeah.
Sorry, did you say it was going on the NELC adverts?
SALC.
Because I get regular. NELC, the National Association of they send regular job descriptions round.
We can send it to SALC, as in SLC. I don't know about NELC. I mean, Locum Clerk.
I've never put anything on the NALC website, but you can use the Society of Local Council Clerks website, but it does cost.
Oh.
And I can tell you how much it's going to cost because you are all sitting down, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So if it's just to go on the website, it's £95 a week. Or if you do it for 2 weeks, it's 184.
Oh.
Or 3 weeks, it's 278. But if you want to pay a bit more, you can have it on their website and on their social media channels, Twitter, etc. And that's £105 a week.
We can put it on.
Well, just 2 seconds. I'll come to you, Councillor Shelbourne. That's quite helpful because the next thing I was going to say when we're talking about the Blackmore Vale is just briefly in this meeting, is there an appetite? Like, is there any idea about what we would spend? So that gives us an idea of the upper bound. Yes, Shelbourne-Barrow.
I'm actually wondering why we don't have a Twitter account and why we can't advertise it on Twitter, because it's free if we do it. So why can't we do that?
Also Wincanton Window.
Yes.
Yeah, local things, definitely. I think it's we just need to find the time, don't we, as a council, to do all these things, definitely, that are free. Yes, Councillor Shelbourne-Barry.
Can we ask our project and development officer to set us up on Twitter, because social media is her forte, and working with the clerk, I'm sure we could get that up within half an hour once we agree it. Once it's agreed.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. That's probably one for the locum clerk, because it's a random one for this committee. But
well, the thing is, although it's a great idea, I just wonder if we're all going to have time to do all that kind of thing at the moment. I mean, I've never run a Twitter account. I tend to steer clear of things like that if I possibly can.
Councillor Shelbourne-Barry?
I do. I have a Twitter account and I set one up recently for a certain piece of work I'm doing, and I'm happy to look into it and talk to Susie about gaining support from her. I'd happily do it, because all you do is load it in as a front page and then we add to it, and if it's dormant, it's dormant, but if not, we can just retweet it until we complete the task. So I'm happy to work with Susie to do that, or I'll do it, but it would be better if I did it with a member of staff, to be fair.
Okay, I'll come to Councillor Power, then I'll come back. Councillor Power?
Well, I manage the band's Twitter account with another band player, and I've also got my own Twitter account, so I'm quite familiar with Twitter, so I can help if need be.
So we're going on a bit of a tangent. So
yeah,
it is. I mean, I would say that the Twitter account is not for this committee. So if you guys want to carry on the discussion outside of it, then is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, seeing no massive dissent about it. Yes, Locum Clerk.
I think it's safe to say that no matter what outlets we have as a town council, be that Twitter or Facebook or our own website or our notice board, we would expect to be advertising the post on that. So if we end up having a Twitter account at some future time and the post is still live, then I don't think there would be any question about that. Whether or not we set one up, as Councillor Ralph says, is not really for now, but should it come to pass that we end up with a Twitter account, then obviously I think the job would go on there and that would be expected.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, right. So because I'm aware of the time, so we've got that's with loads of ideas about where to advertise it for now. And then the closing date for applications. So in the advert, we've said 12 p.m. on Wednesday, the 31st of March, because that gives the candidates 2 full weeks and 2 full weekends so I think that gives them a really good opportunity. But if that's the case and we do that, I do think we should agree, because we can advertise it in advance like we are, to have the interviews really promptly after that. So, and because at this stage they'll be happening for the temporary position on Zoom, then I think it's fair, because as the locum clerk pointed out, it's not like they have to travel across the country or arrange, things like that. It's a case of arranging access to a computer. So with that in mind, I mean, if we had them the following Monday,
it's Easter Monday.
Oh gosh, it is, isn't it? I forget how they work through all these bank holidays. So are we saying the Tuesday then, or are we saying nearer to we can't really put it nearer to the 31st, can we, because of Good Friday?
Well, I think you need to give yourselves time to look through all the job applications anyway, don't you?
Okay.
We say the 5th.
No,
that's Easter, isn't it?
That's Easter Monday.
12.
So what would you do? You have something in mind, Locum Clerk? Because well,
I mean, the sooner the better, I would say. I mean, if you can do the Tuesday the 6th, or the soonest you possibly can, after giving yourself enough time to go through the applications.
Yeah, well, my view is, I mean, I know they could all come in on the last day, but they will be coming in over time. So, I mean, we can be
awkward because
there are, and then yes, Councillor Tuggy.
What sort of time of day would one anticipate holding these interviews?
I think it would be maybe all day, depending on
right. So we're looking at a daytime job.
Yeah.
How long do you think an interview on Zoom should take?
I mean, I don't think the interview, and people, you can correct me if I'm wrong, locum clerk and people, I don't think it should be more than maybe an hour or so, but
Right.
it could be that the panel decides to set them a task around presentations or there may be other tasks. So it may be an interview and something else. Yes, Councillor Shelbourne-Barry.
I would say interview 45 minutes and the task to be 15 to 30 minutes outside of the meeting prior to the interview, and then 15 minutes between each interview to allow us time to review each applicant and hold them to time. If you say it's no more than 45 minutes, that helps people who are attending anyway.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Tudgay.
So in a way, we would be looking at shortlisting if we had sufficient applicants.
Mm-hmm. But if we wanted to go for the week after the bank holiday, we would need to commit to shortlisting on, say, like the Thursday.
I think you're cutting it a bit fine, to be honest with you. I think you ought to delay the day of the interviews to later in that week.
So is there a suggestion out?
Well, I would personally, from my point of view, I would look at possibly holding them over 2 days, we'll say Thursday and Friday, 8th and 9th.
Okay.
That would be my view. I mean, everybody else is welcome to. I don't like the idea of rushing and pushing ourselves into a corner.
No, I agree with Will on that one, I think.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
Of course, we got to take into, sorry, Chair, we've got to take into account people's availabilities on those days.
Yeah, that's why we would promote the days now. So if you apply, you would apply knowing that if you get an interview, you have to be available on those days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if anyone came back with unavailability, they'd have to have a really good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Councillor Shelbourne-Barry.
I'm happy to do on the 1st of April. That's April Fool's Day. Some people are suspicious, some people aren't. But we could do the pre-meet to go through the applications and do the scoring. But we don't have to do that during the day. We could do that in an evening, dependent on how many applications. So that restricts how much time people might have to give up of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mind offering the 8th and 9th, but I would prefer to say either the 8th PM and the 9th PM or something, just because it enables people to plan, us to plan. So if we only had four applicants, 2 went for one day and 2 went for the other, that's fine. But I wouldn't want to find ourselves with, not, allocating time we didn't use, particularly if we're taking time off work.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Okay, so what we're saying at the moment then is the closing date is the 31st of March and the date for interviews is the 8th or 9th of April. And
PM.
Dates we can agree, the panel can agree, the dates in between, I believe. So we don't need to fix those at this stage, but I like the idea of the 1st of April and all those things and being in the evening for people's convenience. So that's good. Okay, so based on that, and also all the ideas for advertising and getting costs for the Blackmore Vale, is there a proposer for 4D? Thank you, Councillor Power, proposing, and a seconder. Councillor Tudgay, and a vote in favour of all those advertisements and those dates. Okay, so that's Councillor Ralph, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, Councillor Vagg, Councillor Power, Councillor Walters, and Councillor Tudgay in favour. So that's the full set, I think. Okay, right. So moving on to 4E, to agree 3 councillors to deal with shortlisting and to form the interview panel, including deciding interview questions, tasks or presentations for candidates and marking scheme. So as we were just discussing, in a practical way, this will involve being available for some days towards the end of March and the beginning of April for the sifting and the marking of applicants that will need to go on, and then the actual interview process. But also before that, there will be need to be discussions around setting the tasks, setting the interview questions, and all those kind of details. I'm going to put it straight out there, as I have the chair, and say I really want to be on this panel, and I feel positionally that it would be a good place for me to be. Yes, Shelbourne Barrow.
I would like to be on the panel as well. Councillor
Okay.
Ralph.
I don't mind because I don't go back to work till the 12th of anyway, so I've got all the time in the world, so I don't mind.
Okay. Okay. Are there anyone else wishing to nominate themselves or nominate others who they think would be brilliant? No? No?
I'll do it.
That's great. Well, I think it's important we have some sort of gender balance. So I'm glad Tom's put himself forward. And okay, that's great then. But that's 3 people. So did we say 3? Yeah, three councillors. Brilliant. And it doesn't mean we can't also have observers or invite other people to support us in that process. So it could be that we consider as a group, we might ask an external person to sit on that panel as well. Yes, Councillor Vag.
God forbid anything happens to the 3 of you, but I'm ready to put myself forward as a backup.
Thank you, that's really useful. So we should vote on that, shouldn't we? So I'm good of myself. So do we need to have each person proposed and seconded, Logan Clark? Or?
No, I don't think so, because you've got 3 people. So it's yourself, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow and Councillor Power, and now Councillor Vag has very sensibly offered herself up as a substitute. So brilliant. I think you can just, as long as everyone's happy, you can take that all on one block.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant.
I'll propose that, Chair, if you like.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. And a seconder? Linda, thank you. And vote in favour of those 3 people. Okay, that's Councillor Ralph, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow, Councillor Vag, Councillor Power, Councillor Walters and Councillor Tudgay. So that's a full set. So that completes section 4. Section 5 of the agenda is date of next meeting to be discussed. Is this because it will need to be after? Have I missed this in section?
No, it's because until I knew what dates you were going to do the interviews, because the next personnel committee meeting is going to have to be after you've done the interviews, when you've got a preferred candidate that you would like to recommend to the full council. So now you've said that the interviews will be the 8th or the 9th. I would suggest that perhaps you want to have a personnel committee meeting on the 12th, which is the following Monday, so that you can make a recommendation to full council. And if you're really keen to hurry it along, you could call an extraordinary full council meeting to run straight after that personnel committee meeting to hear your recommendation.
Yes, Councillor Tudgay. Sorry, I didn't see who put their hand up first.
Will that date not clash with the planning meeting for that month?
Oh, that's a good point.
And I would prefer not to have 2 meetings on the trot.
Yes, it is. Or well, I don't know. How do you want to do it?
Tuesday the 13th.
Yeah, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow. Sorry, you had your hand up.
My only concern is, I'm going to cough. That's not my concern. That's just something I do. Is the 12th might be too soon, only because, sorry, it's because I'm coughing. If we offered it and they were able to accept, subject to references, we wouldn't necessarily have the references by the
Oh, that's true. Very true.
12th, so we might end up not having anyone to put forward. I'm just going to mute myself because I'm just going to have a little cough.
So then are we thinking we need to go later in that week or a week later?
Should we just go the week later? The Tuesday afterwards.
My only thinking is time marches on, because if we have someone that then needs to give a notice period, you know, we've added time.
Well, I think we'll have to accept that, Chair, and employ a locum if necessary for a month. I don't think that would be a problem from my point of view.
Okay, that's fine.
That
Although
was my view.
it's worth pointing out that a lot of clerk contracts have a 3-month notice period. But you know, for the sake of that, for the sake of a week, even on a 3-month notice period, it's
not really significant. I see what you're saying.
No.
Okay, so sorry. Then are we saying we want to go a week later than the 13th?
Let's go to Tuesday the 20th.
Well, you could have the 9th. You could have Monday the 19th. You could have Monday the 19th if you wanted it to be on a Monday.
Keep it consistent to Mondays.
Yeah.
So Tugay?
Are you assuming full council's the 26th of that month then?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yes.
So Monday the 19th. Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's be consistent if we can. Okay, so the next personnel will be on the Monday, the 19th of April. And we also will obviously put those dates into our advert if it's relevant, because I know they're in there. Okay. I think, have I done everything, Locum Clark?
Yes, you have.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Councillor Walters.
What time on the 19th, please?
7. Are we going?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Tugay. Yeah.
I would just like to say a word of thanks to our locum clerk for her help over the past few months. It's been a bit of a bumpy ride, but with her help, I think we're getting there. So thank you very much, Zoe, for your help.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
It's been great working.
Yeah, Bruton's really lucky now.
Bruton are very lucky.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor
Thank you for your
Tugay.
time.
Really glad you said that, because I second that. And this process in particular, Zoe's been so brilliant, and I've done very little. I'm just been on the other end of the phone occasionally. So
Not at all. Thank you.
thank you. Yes, I'm glad she's not far away.
Well, no, that's true. You can always call me anytime. That's completely fine.
Thank you. You're very kind. Right. Okay. As there's more work to do this evening, I'm going to close this meeting and see some of you in a minute, I expect.
Yeah.
Thank you
Lovely.
very much, everyone.